Celebrity A-listers like Kim and Khloe Kardashian, Sylvester Stallone, Dwayne Wade, and Kevin Hart are accused of violating California drought restrictions. According to the Los Angeles Times, they are among more than 2,000 customers who surpassed 150% of their monthly water budgets at least 4 times. A drought emergency was declared at the end of last year, prompting the Metropolitan Water District to order residents to cut back water use by about 80 gallons per person per day. According to a survey of more than 9,000 voters statewide, 71% called the water shortage extremely serious, 23% described it as somewhat serious. Joining us now to discuss is Los Angeles Times reporter Hayley Smith. Hayley, thanks for joining us.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So I know very little about the water restrictions living on the other side of the country in D.C. What is the enforcement mechanism for this restriction? Is it just honor system, or is there actual punishment for going over it?
Great question. So just as context, we are here in the Western United States and in California deep in the 3rd year of drought. And the first half of this year was the driest it's ever been in California. So the water shortage issue is pretty dire out here, which is why we have these restrictions and these rules. And so to answer your question, this particular water district that we looked at for this story does have an escalating fine structure. So people can be fined if they use more than their water budget. But unfortunately, what we start to see happening during these droughts is wealthy people and celebrities who just pay the fine and keep their grass green, while the rest of us sort of let our grass die and do our part to conserve. And so additionally, what this water district has done is implemented a little silver metal disc called a flow restrictor device, which they say they can install on your main shutoff valve to reduce your water flow to a trickle. And that's what they're threatening to do here with some of these water wasters, including the celebrities that you just mentioned.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I'd have to imagine it'd have to be a pretty hefty fine to really scare the Kardashian family. I mean, there's like probably no level of fine that a government could charge them that would make them conserve their water if they're really using it. Is it lawn care upkeep? Is that a major reason for why people go over their water allotment?
Yes, absolutely. In residential areas like this and urban areas like Los Angeles, the majority of water usage goes toward outdoor watering. So your sprinklers, your lawns, things like that. It's less so inside the house, which is why restrictions generally start with watering. And so this particular district has been reduced to a mandatory 1 day a week outdoor watering schedule, where you can only use your sprinklers for 8 minutes on your designated watering day, and that's it. And obviously these people and many others in the area have been violating that order.
And the theory behind this being that you're literally in danger. We're literally in danger. People in California, the government, the water reserves are actually depleting to where there wouldn't be enough drinking water for people if they let people water their grass whenever they wanted to.
Absolutely, yeah. So basically, Southern California water officials have said we cannot afford green lawns. So after this incredibly dry start to the year that we've had, which again is on top of 2 other really dry years, the state water suppliers have basically slashed their allocation for the year to just 5%. So basically, state officials have said, hey, we have enough water to give everyone 5% of what they've asked for, which is basically nothing. And then our other water supply, or our other major water supply, the Colorado River, which is federally managed, is also dealing with incredible drought issues and shrinking. And some of its reservoirs are down to less than half of their capacity right now.
Are these restrictions popular with people? Are people like, yeah, I guess we have to do this? Or did they think this is just an utterly unacceptable kind of tyranny to be told when you can use your sprinklers?
Right. Well, as we saw during the pandemic, people don't necessarily take very well to being ordered to do certain things. But I do think most people in California are on board with this. It's part of life here. I mean, drought is part of life in California. We live in an arid state or an arid climate. So I think people are sort of understanding. But again, we do start to see these violators every year. And it's tricky, and they're trying to encourage everyone in the state to think about a different vision for what California can look like, right? So it's not those green lawns and these sprawling properties of the American dream 50, 60, 70 years ago. It's drought tolerant landscape, it's hardscaping, it's native plants, things like that. We need to sort of re-envision California.
And obviously with the celebrities, there's the hypocrisy aspect of this, right? Because, and I'm not sure about these specific people, but in general, Hollywood celebrities are a class of people who purport to care a lot about the environment, and then, we like routinely catch them, flying private jets and all sorts of things that aren't good for the environment. So I guess it feels very, it's very rich of them to talk about the need to be green when they literally refuse to, just water their lawns a little less frequently.
Right. And I'll give you some specific numbers here because they are pretty eye-popping. So what we looked at for this story, and this was obtained through a public records request, this data, is excess use. So properties are given an allocated water budget, and that budget accounts for the size of your property and the number of people who live in your home and the amount of irrigatable land. So that should all be factored into your water budget. And what these celebrities have done is exceeded their budget, in Dwayne Wade's case, by 500,000 gallons in the month of May. So Dwayne Wade and his wife, Gabrielle Union's Hidden Hills home exceeded their May budget by 500,000 gallons. Sylvester Stallone's Hidden Hills home exceeded its budget by 230,000 gallons in June. So this is not just a little bit of water waste. These are some pretty significant numbers. And just to help put those big numbers in perspective, I'll give you another number, which is 80 gallons per person per day. And that is what officials have said we all need to get down to make our very limited supplies last during this drought.
Wow. That sounds it's a lot of water they're using, despite what they say about the need for everyone to pull in and sacrifice. Thank you so much for your reporting and for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Sure thing. Thanks for having me.
And we'll be back with more Rising right after this.